Hello everybody, my name is Logan Horn, and it's time for the Final Horn. That is right, episode number 8 of the Final Horn after about a month hiatus. I've been working a full-time job, and I have a full-time girlfriend, and yeah, not much time to record podcasts, but we're going to try to get a podcast out once a week for the rest of the month for sure. Then we might go to 2 with football season coming up. But this podcast will be an NBA Ketchup podcast because there's been a lot of stuff going on. Free agency, the draft. We're going to talk about it all in this episode. I'm going to be flying solo today. My boys are out exploring the universe. And they'll be back soon, though. We'll definitely talk to them soon. We also might talk about the Brewers, who are in first place in the Central Division right now. That's pretty cool, so we might talk about them. Let's get started here. Alrighty, ladies and gents. We're going to start talking about some of the major trades that have happened over the last few weeks. And we're going to start with the biggest trade with the best player in it, which is Sam Dekker. He is being traded to the Clippers. Obviously, that was a joke, but Chris Paul going to the Rockets from the Clippers for a long list of people, which is Patrick Beverley, Sam Dekker, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Wiltshire, DeAndre Liggins, and Darren Hilliard. I don't even know who that is, but he got waived anyways. So, as you guys, if you've listened to me before or if you know me in real life, I am a Clippers fan. Bucks are still my second favorite team, obviously. But I was a Chris Paul fan. I liked the Hornets when he was on the Hornets, and then he moved to the Clippers. But now I've just fallen in love with the Clippers, so I will continue to be a Clippers fan. But it hurts to lose my favorite player. That's okay though, because we got my favorite player in the league, Sam Dekker, back. Wisconsin native. I think he can make an impact for the Clippers. He'll be coming off the bench. I might go over some starting lineups for them in future podcasts. That could be good. We'll talk more about the NBA in other podcasts as well. But yeah, the Chris Paul, he was gonna go to the Rockets anyways. So I'm really happy with the assets that the Clippers got. They also got a 2018 pick, I believe. So that's good. I mean, if you're going to lose your best player, you might as well get some young assets for him. And we definitely got some assets. Lou Williams, he's a player that can always get you points. And he'll probably get traded or they'll keep him. But he's got a lot of value in the market. So I think that's a good trade. Sam Dekker's good. He's a young guy. If he can stay on the court, he had a good year last year. If he can stay on the court, I think he can surprise some people. And Pat Beverley, he's a great point guard, and he can. I think one thing they struggled with last year is their defense, and with Pat Beverley guarding the point guard, the best position on the court, he's one of the best defending point guards in the league, so that'll be good. Moving on. We're moving back home here in the Midwest area. The Timberwolves did a big trade on draft night. Jimmy Butler and the 16th pick, who turned out to be Justin Patton from Creighton. The Bulls traded those two to the T-Wolves for Zach LaVine, Chris Dunn, and Lauri Markkanen, who was the 7th pick. That's who the Bulls received. So Zach LaVine got hurt last year. The Timberwolves actually did better without him, so I like the Timberwolves getting rid of him. Chris Dunn, huge disappointment last year. He should have been a lot better. Maybe he'll turn out, but I just don't think he will. Jimmy Butler, obviously one of the best players in the league, two-way players. That'll be really good because the T-Wolves struggled on defense last year. Maybe Jimmy Butler can establish a thought process on defense there that they're going to be a good defensive team. Tom Thibodeau a great defensive coach, but struggled to make the young team play good defense last year. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns can play defense. Wiggins has struggled, but he has the potential. He's got the athleticism to do that. So Jimmy Butler can stop most players. So I like the trade a lot for the T-Wolves. Obviously, they definitely won this trade 100%. They got the best player, and they didn't really give up that much. The 7th pick, they could have got Malik Monk with that. And if you guys have seen my Twitter, you know that I'm high on Malik Monk. So I don't know. I don't like that pick for the Bulls, obviously, but whatever you got to do, their front office is pretty terrible. But another trade that the T-Wolves did, they traded Ricky Rubio to Utah for a lottery-protected first-round pick, which is the first. So if the T-Wolves don't make the playoffs, basically, they lose the pick, and Utah gets that pick. So I don't know how I feel about this. Replacing Rubio at point guard will be Jeff Teague. He signed on the T-Wolves for a 3-year, $57 million deal. Going into last year, I was super high on Jeff Teague with the Pacers. I thought they were going to be top 3 in the Eastern Conference last year. But Jeff Teague was really disappointing. He had good numbers, but just defensively, he's very poor. And he just didn't have the same athleticism last year. But now I'm super low on him, so he'll probably have a great year this year. But I think that is a downgrade. With Jimmy Butler, Wiggins, and Cat, they don't really need a scoring point guard, and Ricky Rubio is completely fine with just passing to the open guy every time. So I think he was a perfect fit for that team. But I don't know, Jeff Teague can play. He can score, so they're gonna score a lot of points. It's just the defensive mindset's gotta change in Minnesota if they want to be good. The final big trade we're gonna talk about here, as far as we know, at 121 on July 4th. Happy 4th of July to everybody. Independence Day. We love our country here at the Final Horn podcast. But I have this wrong on my cheat sheet here. Oh, I just got a notification. Holy crap. Breaking news. Obviously, it won't be breaking news for you guys listening, but I just got a Bleacher Report notification that says All-Star Gordon Hayward plans to sign with Celtics. That is, I think, the best fit for him. If he stays with the Jazz, then he's not going to do anything. They might not even make the playoffs with the stacked West this year, which we'll talk about. And if he went to the Heat, which was the other option, it's basically just, that's the same team, basically. Hassan Whiteside and Rudy Gobert are basically the same player. George Hill and Goran Dragic, they're basically the same player. So that was basically saying the same. But now, moving to the Celtics, they have a serious chance to contend with the Cavs. I mean, I still think the Cavs are a better team, but Jason Tatum's looked great in Summer League so far. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm glad that we got this podcast, because, you know, if that would have came out after the podcast, that would have sucked. But that was pretty cool. Paul George traded to the Thunder for 3 cents. Just kidding. It's Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis. Oladipo was great in Orlando, and he was an okay 2 guy with the Thunder. But the contract, the $21 million contract, that is just not good for Victor Oladipo. So the Thunder both get Paul George, who is $2 million cheaper than Victor Oladipo, and they get rid of that contract, and they get one of the top 15 players in the league in exchange for that. Sabonis isn't very good. He had some potential, but he can't shoot very well. So that's a super good trade for the Thunder. Pacers will be trash for the next 15 years. Oladipo, I mean, he's a good player, and he can score a lot of points when he has his own team. But I definitely think the Thunder win that trade. The Pacers, I feel like they have to have better offers than that. And I feel like Pacers fans should definitely be disappointed at what they got for Paul George. I know that he plans on leaving after 1 year, but still they could have gotten someone better for them. Like if they trade Paul George for Kevin Love, I think that's even better value. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see what happens. We're going to call it a half there. After the halftime break here, we'll talk about the big free agent signings. Alrighty, folks, we are back for the second half where we will be talking about all the free agent signings. And I'm going to be going through most of them and talking about their fit. We're going to start with the NBA champions, Golden State Warriors. 4 signings so far that are big. I'll talk about each one of them. Let's get into it. Steph Curry, now has the biggest contract in the league. 5 years, $201 supermax $1 million contract. Obviously with the Warriors, obviously he deserves it. Best point guard in the league. I hate to say it. He's so good, and he turned the Warriors into a not good team, a non-playoff team, into the best team in the league. He recruited Kevin Durant, and he created the super team, and he obviously deserves all the money in the world for the Warriors. He made them so much money, and he will continue to. Great player, 5-year deal. Bad for the league, no, but bad for my heart, yes. Don't like the Warriors, don't like Curry very much, but, that's a smart move for him. Moving on, Kevin Durant, 2-year, $53 million deal. Yes, you heard that right. He took a huge pay cut to stay with the Warriors, which I give him a lot of respect for that. It shows me that he's about winning, and I respect anybody that just wants to win. Takes a huge pay cut. He makes like $9 million less per year. I mean, that's not much for him, I guess. Like, you're looking at $26.5 million a year. I'm pretty sure he'll be able to live comfortably with that. But I give him a lot of props for taking that pay cut. Moving on to another Warrior, Andre Iguodala. I thought for sure he was going to go to the Rockets because I saw a notification on Bleacher Report that said he canceled all of his other free agent meetings after he went to the Rockets, and with Harden and Chris Paul, figured maybe he'd want to get a big payday, but nope, he was smart as well. Still gets a pay raise, I believe, and he stays with the Warriors for 3 more years. Another big signing for the Warriors, Sean Livingston, which I really like this signing for the Warriors. 3 years, $24 million for Livingston, who is one of the best backup point guards in the league. He could have gone out and got a big payday as well, but he decided to stay and win some more rings, and they're going to win the next 3 championships, no question. Going back to the Clippers, Blake Griffin becomes the second highest paid player in the league. 5-year, $173 million contract with the Clippers. Some people are surprised at this, but I think with Chris Paul leaving, I think maybe he wanted his team back. And he could run some point forward. And he's really good at distributing the ball. He's got some handles. He's not as much of an above-the-rim player anymore, but he can still score. He still had a great year last year. He missed 20 games or so, but he can still score in the 20s. And I think that was a great move for the Clippers. So moving on to the Raptors, they had some couple big signings. Kyle Lowry, 3 years, $100 million. There were a lot of rumors of him going to the Wolves, but obviously not true. He signs with the Raptors, stays there. A nice contract for him. Surprising he got this much. I don't think with his age he probably should have gotten less. But Raptors, they might have been wanting to go into rebuild, but with all the different trades and signings with people going to the West. The West is just super stacked now. And the Raptors, they're a couple injuries away from being in the finals, so might as well run it back. And they also get Serge Ibaka, 3-year, $65 million deal. Also with the Raptors, that's a good signing for them. Pretty hefty price, but Serge Ibaka is a pretty good player, and they're going to be a top 4 team in the Eastern Conference again, so that is good. Another heartbreaking free agent signing next for me. My second favorite player in the league, JJ Redick, signs with the 76ers. He tweets, "Trust the process." And yeah, that hurt me a little bit. 1 year, $23 million deal. That is really good for JJ. I'm happy for him, and he's going to be deadly on the Sixers. They're going to have so much spacing with all the people that can shoot. Ben Simmons can't shoot, but everyone else can, and Ben Simmons can distribute the ball. They're going to be a solid team. Markelle Fultz looks amazing in Summer League. Drew Holiday, 5-year, $125 million deal with the Pelicans. That is good for him. Holy cow, he made some good money there with the Pelicans. With DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis, they're looking at, hopefully they can figure it out. They could be a good team. Drew Holiday is a great point guard. Hopefully they can figure something that works, because they got a lot of talent. And I want some success for Anthony Davis, because I feel bad for him, because he's one of the best players in the league, and he just is on a terrible team. PJ Tucker and Nene both sign with the Rockets. PJ Tucker, 4-year, $32 million deal. Rockets getting some players, because they traded almost all of them to the Clippers for Chris Paul. That's a good deal for PJ Tucker, just $8 million a year, and he's a great defender. He can work with the Rockets system pretty well. And then Nene, he was the major reason why the Rockets lost to the Spurs in the series. I know that sounds weird, but when he went out, they just couldn't hang with the Spurs. So that's interesting. Pretty big signing here. Paul Millsap, 3-year, $90 million deal with the Nuggets. So him and Jokic are going to be looking to dominate the posts there, and he can shoot too, so they're going to have a lot of spacing there. Interesting team the Nuggets will be this year. I'm sure they'll make actually they should make the playoffs, but you never know in the West. There's so many good teams, so we'll see. But I like the fit for Paul Millsap there in Denver. Patty Mills, 4-year, $50 million deal with the Spurs. I like this deal. I like Patty Mills a lot, and obviously he likes the Spurs system. I would too. Love getting coached by Popovich. Probably could make a lot more money elsewhere. He's a very good point guard, but he's won a ring with the Spurs, and he's a point guard on the team, and they're going to be good, obviously, because Kawhi Leonard, I think he's going to win MVP this year. So, moving on, Kyle Korver, 3-year, $22 million deal. Pretty interesting that he makes $22 million in 3 years, and JJ Redick makes that more than that in 1 year. I mean, JJ Redick's a little bit younger, but similar players. JJ Redick's a better shooter, but that's in the whatever. He struggled in the playoffs, especially in the finals. Hopefully, he can get a shot going this year in big games, because I want the Cavs to beat the Warriors. Moving on to the Jazz, Joe Ingles signed a 4-year, $52 million deal. That's a lot of money for a guy like Joe Ingles. He basically single-handedly beat the Clippers, along with Joe Johnson. I really don't like him. I have a strong hatred for him. Also part of the All-Dad starting lineup, which we'll be bringing to you on YouTube. YouTube.com/TheFinalHornPod. Make sure to subscribe to see all those videos. That's just so much money. He looks so unathletic. I don't think he should be worth that much, but I have a hate bias. So that's that. Also, I also got another notification saying Gordon Hayward's agent denies report he has chosen the Celtics. We are still working through it. And by the time you guys listen to it, he's probably made his decision, but that's interesting. Back to the T-Wolves. Signed Taj Gibson for a 2-year, $28 million deal. I like this deal a lot. He can play the 4. So then their starting lineup right now would be Jeff Teague, Andrew Wiggins, Jimmy Butler, Taj Gibson, and Karl Anthony Towns. Then that's a darn good starting lineup. Taj Gibson, great defender, can score, great player, and that's a good deal for him. To the Kings, another Jazz player goes to he goes to the Kings here. George Hill, 3-year, $57 million deal. It's a good price for George Hill, in my opinion. He's not the most durable player, but when he's on the court, he's a great player. So that's that. But that's interesting to me because the Kings drafted my favorite point guard in the draft, De'Aaron Fox. So maybe they bring him in to teach De'Aaron the ropes, and then De'Aaron Fox can take over. Zach Randolph also moving to the Kings, which is weird. I don't like that. I feel like he should be a Grizzly for life. 2-year, $24 million deal. I don't know. I don't like the fit. I feel like the Kings should be looking for younger players, and Zach Randolph's not the youngest player, and he doesn't play young. So I don't like that deal. The Kings never know what they're doing, though, so you never really know with the Kings. As long as nothing else happens in the next 20 minutes when I'm editing this, that'll be all for today. We'll be on next week. We're going to talk about the Brewers next week instead of this podcast and all their successes. But by next week, they'll probably have lost every game and are now in last. But you never know. All right. So thank you guys for listening. Subscribe on iTunes and YouTube. Final Horn Pod. Twitter is at the Final Horn Pod. Also, if you'd like a Final Horn t-shirt, make sure to let me know on Twitter. $10. They're very pretty. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.